I like adventure, you probably like adventure, but what do we really need in terms of adventure? Do we need a one-to-one remake of the original adventure games, or do we need a brand new adventure game? Which option is the better choice for the franchise? Let's discuss right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
Hello there, beautiful human. My name is RidersDX, and welcome to my channel where today I'm just abiding time as we're wading through what probably feels like the longest and driest drought in Sonic history. So as you all know, the 30th Sonic anniversary is coming up next year, and we basically had a really dry season this year. Like, no new games. The movie came and went in the beginning of the year, and the pandemic basically just shut down everything. And apparently that had a huge impact on Sonic because nothing's happening with Sonic for the rest of the year, sadly. And so while we wait for the drought to continually dry up our senses, I have a very interesting question for us to ponder. Would you rather have a Sonic Adventure remake or a Sonic Adventure 3? You know, I've had lots of people in my comment section say they either want one or the other, or even both. But which idea is actually the right move for this franchise? Like, say that the next Sonic game was coming in between these two titles. Which one would be the better option? I don't think anyone's ever posed this question before. I mean, to be honest, we probably won't get either one. We're probably just gonna get another Boost game next year. You know, I'm calling it right now. It's gonna be Sonic Forces 2. But so the way that I've structured this video is I'm gonna go through each idea on its own. I'm gonna talk about the pros of it, and then I'm gonna talk about the cons of it. And then once I've gone through both ideas in that manner, then I'm going to bring it all together and decide for myself at least what I think the better move is. And so let's go ahead and get started. Let's begin with a Sonic Adventure remake, which I've made lots of videos on at this point, but I don't know, I can't really help it. The idea of a Sonic Adventure remake is very exciting to me. I wasn't always on board with it, but after seeing how Rehydrated went, I really am thinking that an adventure remake would be pretty awesome. And so some reasons as to why an adventure remake would be awesome is, first of all, it'd be a chance to fix a lot of the game's issues. And so Sonic Adventure was a great game. Like, I'm not going to take that away from it. But it came out over 20 years ago, and 20 years is a very long time within the gaming industry. Lots of things have changed, standards have been heightened, lots of improvements have been made to game design that really could elevate this game. And so, first of all, you could restore the original designs from the original Dreamcast edition, because lots of people have cried about how they didn't like how Sega altered the models and the color schemes in the DX version, and so this would be a chance to fix what wasn't broken. You could also fix the camera, or have more fluid controls, or make cutscenes that don't look or sound awkward as hell. A remake is such an exciting idea because it takes what was old and makes it new again, and potentially makes it even better. A lot of people have stated that the Insane Trilogy is the definitive way to play the Crash games, and I'm sure there's many other examples beyond that that just aren't coming to my head right now because it's like 9 o'clock in the evening and I'm an old man. This is when I actually go to sleep, but that's besides the point. Another reason is that nostalgia is just such a huge selling point. I think we're in the midst of a huge 2000 nostalgia surge. I think all these old games that came out during the 2000s, all these franchises that had prevalence during them, are going to see a huge uptick in terms of nostalgia. I think it's just come to that time where things like the GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 can be looked at as retro. And that's actually really sad. I do not want to think of the fact that my childhood might be considered retro now, but that's besides the point. Lots of remakes in the past have been really successful recently, and Sonic Mania itself is a huge example of how this could be really successful for the franchise. I think Sonic is in a weird place right now. He's coming off of a disappointing title, and so he doesn't really have any momentum to maintain right now. Any momentum created by Sonic Mania was unfortunately destroyed by Sonic Forces, and Team Sonic Racing just kind of kept that momentum down below. So Sonic doesn't really have any room to mess up here. And so what better way to reignite some excitement within the Sonic franchise than by cashing in on good old nostalgia. The nostalgia craze isn't going to last forever. We're going to get to the point where we're just going to move on to something else. So if there's a time to cash in on adventure nostalgia, it is now. Now, however, there are some cons to this, and the main con I can think of is that while remaking a game is a great way to fix some of the flaws of the original, there's also some things that are a little bit debatable in terms of whether or not they should be fixed or recreated. Basically, the way I summarize those decisions are under design philosophies. Like, are there certain gaming concepts within the original adventure that should be changed just because reviewers or people like myself don't look too fondly on it? Like, for example, do we really want Big the Cat to return? Can we just leave those levels out in the past? Should Tails' levels be left intact or changed to make better use of his abilities, since most of his levels are basically just Sonic's levels that were made for Sonic mostly? So as a result, Tails' levels aren't really that maximized in those levels. You know, it's a really interesting debate on whether you want to make a one-to-one remake or if you want to make a reimagined title. Now, in terms of that question, I think I would personally go for a reimagined route, as I think while Sonic Adventure is definitely a great game, I think it'd be a lot more interesting to see what the team would do if they were able to remake everything from the ground up and just kind of take their own ideas and put them to use. Because I do think a lot of the ideas that were apparent in the adventure games is a little bit outdated now. Like, I really don't think we need characters like Big and Amy. I mean, sure, you can make them maybe optional if you want to, but I would really love to see more Sonic levels, for instance, or more Tails levels, or more Knuckles levels, more of that gameplay that was really good. I would love to see some of the script be rewritten, because a lot of it sounds awkward due to direct translation from the Japanese versions, and you know, just a whole bunch of ways to elevate the game that wouldn't be possible if you made it a one-to-one remake. But then you would be completely compromising what made the original great and iconic within the fan base. And so, is that such a good idea, or would it be much better to just make a brand new game? And thus, we transition into our other option. Sonic Adventure 3, one of the most requested games in Sonic history. I remember when I was like in grade school and I was on Sonic forums and there were people talking about Sonic Adventure 3 even then, and I just feel like that chatter has just reignited again with this whole talk about the adventure games coming back, or just the whole adventure formula, adventure nostalgia making a huge return. And so obviously there's a huge pro to making Sonic Adventure 3, which is the fact that it's a brand new title that's not limited to a previous game. So you can literally take what worked in the adventure games and just leave behind the flaws. You can leave behind the flawed stories. You can also incorporate brand new ideas and make something that's just brand new, amazing, and just leaves its own mark on the Sonic franchise. And one of the best examples of this has just come out this past year, Crash Bandicoot 4. So this is the exact scenario I'm talking about, where you take the original formulas that made the game so great and you make a direct successor from it. And Crash Bandicoot 4 not only took what was so great about the original games, but also made some more improvements and some new ideas that some people like better and other people don't. You know, it's a pretty hot topic, but overall Crash Bandicoot 4 is basically the dream Crash Bandicoot game that everyone was hoping for. And that is the complete benefit of taking something that was so great in the past and just making it bigger and better than ever. And if they were able to do the same thing here with Sonic Adventure 3, then it would be a really huge move for Sonic, because not only do you have the benefit of nostalgia backing you up, but you also have the freedom to create new ideas and interpret the ideas in your own way. And I don't know, I just feel like with remakes you're so limited sometimes in terms of preserving what made the original games great, but also preserving the flaws of the original game. You know, it's a debate of like, should we change this, or would that be going against what the original game brought? I mean, it's a confusing thing sometimes. You're not really sure which direction you're gonna go if your focus with the remake is not clear. Now, however, there is a con to making Sonic Adventure 3, and this is the argument that's been made time and time again when people see these comments and absolutely do not want to see a Sonic Adventure 3. And so there could be a strong comparison to previous titles that could make the project backfire, and you don't need to look any further than Sonic 4. So Sega actually did try this idea before, but with the original Genesis games, and when Sonic the Hedgehog 4 came out, it was absolutely slammed. Like, it was not the game that people were hoping for. It was not the true successor to the original Sonic games that people really wanted. And they also sort of tried this before with a Sonic Adventure 3, except it was called Sonic 06. So yeah. Okay, in defense of this idea though, Sonic 06 was a whole different beast. It was supposed to be more of a reboot, and it was plagued by development troubles that I'm sure, at least I'm really hopeful, that Sega would not repeat again with a future title as big as Sonic Adventure 3. So we don't really have to take that into consideration, although it is a scenario that has happened before and does have a chance of happening again, so you can take it as it is. So ultimately, what is the better idea? If I'm being honest, I think I'd much rather see a brand new title, as I think that like while Sonic Adventure and even Sonic Adventure 2 were really great back in the day, I do think there's some things about those two games that I would leave behind that I'm not sure they would be able to leave behind unless they completely marketed the games as reimagined versions, which I really don't think Sega has the guts to do. I think if they were going to remake the games, they would be closer to one-to-one remakes, because that just seems like the most obvious move for them in my opinion. And so I personally would go with Adventure 3, but it's not like a huge like in favor, you know. I still see benefits of both, and so actually I will propose this. Let's have both. Let's do both ideas, because this is exactly what Crash did. What Crash did was he came back with full flames when the Crash Insane Trilogy was announced and released to consoles, and so that was the remake. And then Crash Bandicoot 4 came out a few years later, and that was the Sonic Adventure 3. They even made a Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled remake in between, so you could even remake something else in between if you really wanted to with Sonic. But this idea worked really well with Crash, and so I don't see why this wouldn't work with Sonic as well. The Sonic Adventure remake should come first and reintroduce people to the adventure name and the adventure formula. And it definitely needs to include Adventure 2, by the way. I know I've been talking about Adventure mostly, but it definitely should include Adventure 2. No excuses, Sega! But then after that, a brand new adventure game would be great. Whether or not it continues from where Adventure 2 left off though and rewrites the story is up for debate. I feel like this situation would be a lot more complex than it would be with Crash, because with Crash, you know, the storyline wasn't as strong, but with Sonic you had so much that happened after Sonic Adventure 2 that's already been established as canon. So that would be a really interesting debate. So let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say about that. Do you think Adventure 3 should continue off from where Adventure 2 left off and basically erase everything else that happened in the Sonic games, or do you think it should just start off from the end of 4? I mean, that is an option too. But yeah, that's basically everything I had to say. What do you all think is the better idea? Is it a Sonic Adventure remake or Sonic Adventure 3? Do you want to see both, or do you want to see neither? I want to hear all your thoughts, so let me know in the comment section below, and I would be happy to talk about this with you all and have a great discussion. But yeah, that's pretty much everything, and so I wish you all a happy end of the year. Stay safe, wear a mask if you're going outside, and be patient, because Sonic's 30th anniversary is basically just over the hill now, and we're gonna be getting news soon, so get excited, because I'm really excited. I really want Sonic to have an amazing year, so let's hope for the best. But alright y'all, this is Riders, riding out. Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to the Nerd Corner, Killer Lemurs, Team Ride with Sonic Gamers, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Doomslayer, Jeremy Games, Trash Q, Abraham Muter, and Mass Muter. These are my patrons/YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member, get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.